How you doing, friends? Ernie here, and this is the 0 Days to Expiration podcast, episode number 99. And today we're going to talk about what it means to have skin in the game. And I guess the question you have to ask really is who stands the most to move? Who stands the most to lose in any kind of human transaction? A lot of what I'm going to talk about is actually paraphrasing from Nassim Taleb's book, Skin in the Game, which is an allegory, or maybe even a number of allegories that talk about, in a pithy way, the asymmetry in human interactions. The number one thing that you have to really ask yourself is, what is in it for me? Right? Isn't that what it's all about? What is the best way to analyze risk other than to ask, well, not only what is it in for me, but what is in it for the counterparty, the person that I am interacting with? What is their underlying motivation? Because we all know that there are things that may not be apparent right at first. And that's really the very first question that you have to ask. There is always some kind of asymmetry between any kind of interaction, whether it's you interacting with your doctor or your broker or another person that you're trying to do a deal with. There is some level of asymmetry. You would hope that there's symmetry in your knowledge. Everyone knows basically everything everybody else knows, but that's not hardly ever the case. There's always somebody that might have a slight edge. And in most cases, you wouldn't even enter a transaction unless you felt like you had some kind of edge. Isn't that true? It is. It's true. Otherwise, why would you do it? Would you go into anything at a disadvantage? A lot of people would. It's just the truth. But so who knows more, me or the other guy? Does one person have superior knowledge, and are they using it to try to manipulate me? Right? Now, the second factor you have to take into consideration is risk. Which person has more to lose in this transaction? Most interactions in our daily lives, this is a question that we really ask. Not really, rarely ask. And what I mean by that is that I guess we just take it for granted, or we don't know the right question to ask. And I guess a question like that would be going to your doctor for an appointment, and you're going because maybe you have some something that you want to have some answers with. So, for instance, back in 2020, I had COVID before they had any of the vaccines or anything like that, and I got pretty sick. Afterwards, after I became better, I went to the doctor for a checkup, and he recommended that I have a CAT scan of my chest just to see if there's anything going on. I mean, I felt okay. I had all the antibodies now and everything. That was okay. And so I went and I had that CAT scan, came back, and he said, hey, have you ever worked with asbestos? And I thought, why in the world is this guy asking me if I ever worked with asbestos? I said, no, of course not. I mean, yeah, when I was younger, I did some home remodeling. And I guess with some of these older houses, there might have been something like that, but I don't recall any ever being really exposed to that. He says, oh, okay. He says, because there's all these nodules all over your lungs. I said, oh, really? And so then he recommended me to this other doctor who was a pulmonary specialist. And he had me do this thing called a PET scan. Now, a PET scan is where they inject you with this nuclear glucose. And the idea is that if there is any problem there, like a cancerous thing, that it would light it up like a bulb. Now, I didn't really understand this at the time. I didn't know what they were after. And I just thought that this was another way to kind of get a better look at my lungs. I mean, I went through some pretty heavy duty lack of oxygen when I had COVID. I do the PET scan, come home. I feel fine, by the way. I felt fine. And he calls me up a couple of weeks later and he says, good news, Ernie, good news. I said, really? What are the good news? What's the good news? He says, you don't have cancer. I said, oh, wow. I didn't know that I was supposed to be worried about that. But apparently, I had developed something they call pulmonary fibrosis from the disease. Essentially, my lungs got scarred. There's a case where I really didn't have the knowledge. I didn't know what to ask. I didn't even know that I had anything at risk, but I felt like the doctor did, but he kept that information from me. Now, I don't know if this rings with you about this idea of asymmetry. It really comes down to who has more to lose in this interaction and who gains more. And do you say enough or do you say too much? Obviously, they don't want to get me worried, but I do want to also know what is it that I am being prodded for. And what I wanted to make a point about that is that we rarely even ask these questions. I didn't even know to ask. I didn't know that I was at some sort of disadvantage or at risk or anything like that. Maybe another type of thing that might be more relevant to you is that if you're looking for a service online, maybe you're looking at what is it, Warrior Trading, right? And that guy Russ. You want to know, if I take his service, who stands more to lose, me or Russ? I mean, what will happen if the whole relationship goes wrong in that particular case? Will it be me that has more to lose, or will it be Russ? Well, I think the answer is obvious there. So I guess we enter into things basically knowing what the risks are, I guess, or maybe you don't even think about them. Maybe you're completely blindsided to what the potential risk is if you go into a service like that and take these really unbelievably risky trades. Let's see, what would be another good area? But the point that I was trying to make is that you need to know the right questions to ask. You need to understand what that person has to lose as opposed to the other. Now, in Russ's case, when he's taking on a new customer, he's got nothing to lose. Every new customer is just another notch on his belt, and he's got that pegged, and he's not going to lose anything. He's got all the disclaimers and everything. Now, one thing that I'm particularly knowledgeable about is this idea of brokers and analysts, and when they make recommendations, and what is their game. I mean, they have clients, and those clients pay a lot of money for this exclusive, or what they think is exclusive info from the brokers about the various companies that they're analyzing. So, I'm sure you've seen these analysts that come on TV and they have a particular stock that they are supposedly expert at. And it's interesting because we're assuming that they have some sort of superior knowledge, and they're willing to give that to us so that we can make an informed decision. And there's a huge asymmetry there, a huge asymmetry. The asymmetry is that you think that they have superior knowledge and they're sharing it with us, and that now that gives us the power, and now I have the tools to go out there and make a decision in the market based on that. But in reality, the asymmetry is completely flipped because the knowledge that they have is crap. What do I mean by that? Let me just tell you about brokers. And I've talked about this at great length here on the YouTubes. And just to give you a little bit of background about me and brokers. Now, first of all, I know a great deal about brokers and sell-side analysts and analysts in general because I've been in this industry for 40 years. And right from the very beginning, as a matter of fact, I helped Fidelity literally put the first online brokerage online. I worked with all the major technology companies to make that happen. I was the coordinator, the technical coordinator. I worked with the marketing end and the business end of Fidelity and others like Credit Suisse as well to understand what is their motivation. What are they trying to achieve? Are they trying to achieve the creation of this great service that's going to benefit all of their customers so that customers can make gobs of money? Is that is that what it's all about? So there's another asymmetry there because that's the idea or I guess the feeling or the understanding that the customer would have, but that's certainly not the understanding that the broker has. As a matter of fact, that's their asymmetry. That's their skin in the game. That's what they have advanced or superior knowledge about, because they're not interested in you making money. They are only interested in them making money. And they are developing a system, an online system. And this is actually, to this day, this system is intact, to cause you to create as many transactions as possible, because that's how they make money. They don't care if you make money or become wealthy with their system. To a certain extent, they want to keep you coming back for more. And so they give you these carrots, and the carrots are usually in the form of these sell side analysts, who in my view should be illegal. I mean, it is definitely a conflict of interest to have sell side analysts that are going out there and providing all of this information for the sole purpose of getting you to act. Okay, so there is a piece of knowledge, some asymmetrical knowledge that I have over what most other people perhaps have. And maybe some people know this intuitively, that the sell side analyst doesn't know crap. Yet they are able to go out there on behalf of these brokers, given the full weight and supposed experience that they have and supposed inside knowledge that they have, in order to give you information that you are going to profit from. So let me tell you a little bit about sell side analysts. Here's the bit of the story that you don't know. A sell side analyst is not what you think they are. Now, when they start off with the broker, they get them right out of college. They call them freshers, and usually from a very, very good school. In fact, they are very adamant, especially the big brokers, about only getting the best of the best. Harvard, Stanford, Ivy League grads. And they get them in there, and their idea or their dream, I guess, most kids that are coming out of college don't really know what they want to do, but they see the idea that they could be making millions with a broker and in the stock market. Their idea is that they're going to bring these people in, and they're going to get them to analyze the market for them, or do all of this kind of spreadsheet analytics. And the kids that are coming in, they have no idea what they're doing. They have no experience whatsoever in the industry, but they're smart kids. And they can do a really good job at creating this analysis. And they can create pretty charts and everything, because, especially coming out of the schools these days, they all have a good handle on all the office tools and all that. And the analysts that are directing these freshers is giving them direction. Hey, I need this P&L or this earnings statement or this analysis on this company versus that company, and put it up and create this chart or whatever. And so they work them to the bone. And I mean, really to the bone. I mean, they're working 10, 12, 14-hour days, most of these kids. And most of them don't make it. They can't survive the pressure of producing. And they don't really see any real benefit from that. They just have to keep on producing. They're like slaves. I swear to God, they are stuck to their desks, and they need to put it out. And all of this stuff gets wrapped up and pushed up to the analyst, who then will go to his clients. His clients are all of these people that have paid extra money to the broker to get their reports. And their reports are supposed to give them superior information about that particular company that they analyze, of which they did none of the analysis, by the way. It was all done by the freshers. And so people make decisions based on that. Now, of course, the number one thing that they're trying to achieve here is to get the customer, the people who are customers of the broker, to create transactions, to buy and sell. They don't care. Buy, sell, whatever. Just do it. So, because every time you buy or sell something, that's a ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching commission. And it's a relatively small commission, but that's what adds up. And these analysts then sometimes will, if they get one of these calls that they make right, they will get some level of notoriety. At least the broker will then go to all the mainstream news media and the financial head networks and say, hey, look, we got this analyst, and he made this call, and everybody wants to praise the analyst, because the broker is also a partner with the mainstream media. They basically buy a lot of advertising and support them. And so they're more than happy to bring on their number one analyst who made a call. Now, if you go and look back and look at these analysts and the calls that they've made, It's probably, maybe they've made one or two. They're hit and miss, you know. You never see one analyst that just rises to the top. Very rare to see an analyst that is up here on a consistent basis. So, anyways, the analyst goes on TV and talks about this particular company, pumps them up, and what does that have? What does that produce? That causes millions of people who are watching this saying, "Hey, this guy's got superior information. I need to go in on that stock," and that for the broker creates transactions. That was the whole game. The secret to all of this and the understanding that you need, the piece of superior knowledge that you need, is that that analyst has virtually zero experience in that company or that industry. They were once a fresher who made it up through the ranks. They lasted through the other group of freshers that they started with, of which he or she might only be one or two that are left after 15 or 20 other freshers that have now since been dragged through the mud and got a lot of experience and now have moved on to another company that is probably not involved in finance at all. The point is that that broker, that analyst in particular, is feeding you bull crap. They know nothing, absolutely nothing. It's very, very rare that an analyst that is working for a broker, particularly ones that get on CNBC or Bloomberg or whatever, that they actually have experience in that industry. They don't. They were just college freshers just a few short years ago that moved up through there. They made a couple of good calls, and therefore their face was well known on the mainstream media. And then they are called back over and over to get their opinion, even though they have no new calls of any port that are of any importance or that have actually made any money for anybody, but they did it that one time. And so they're good looking or whatever, and they're college educated from a good school. And so they make great fodder for the mainstream media to come back. And that's how an analyst's career is made. All right. Do they have superior knowledge? No, they don't. And of course, they're not there to transfer any superior knowledge to you either. The dirty little secret is that the broker does have the superior knowledge, that you were a fool for listening to their guys. They are there to front run arbitrage their brokerage. I guess another good example of that would be Tasty Trade. You familiar with Tasty Trade? All right. So Tasty Trade. Everybody knows Tasty Trade that trades options, because Tasty Trade is a really cool company, at the outset. The owner of Tasty Trade, Tom Sosnoff, he developed Thinkorswim, and then he sold it to TD Ameritrade and made gobs of money. He is a 100 millionaire many times over, maybe close to $1 billion now. I don't know. I would say probably $300 or $400 million he's worth at least, off of what he developed, which was a really great platform. He went over and started this other company called Tasty Trade, and their idea at the beginning was to give away options knowledge for free. Give it away. And it was really good options knowledge. They hired all kinds of young freshers right out of college to give all of their analysis. I mean, you see the pattern here. And they are good looking, and they put them on TV or on the YouTubes. And they created this incredible library of content. And he had his friend Tony there, and they played the yin and yang type traders there. And they were espousing this type of trading strategy that was all about playing the odds, play the odds, put on all these different strategies, get your pop and rock in place, right? Pop is probability of profit and rock is return on capital. And if you could just dial that in and just keep on trading towards that pop and rock, you can define your future. Yes, you too can have the riches of trading if you go the Tasty Trade way and just do this. Just lots of transactions, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trades, just pop and rock, pop and rock, pop and rock. So then eventually, once they had a big enough audience, they started up this brokerage that they call Tastyworks. I hope you see the whole plan here. I mean, it's the lost leader of information, of good information, by the way, to get people into the Tasty Trade way of trading. And then they present you with this beautiful trading platform, all glitzy and graphical and everything. It's really very pretty. It's kind of as far from a professional options trader point of view, it is clunky. There's a lot of drawbacks on it. I mean, Thinkorswim, his original tool, is far superior, even though it doesn't look as glitzy. It doesn't look as modern. But from a options trader point of view, it is way more usable. But that's okay. You got into tastytrade. They have been serving up to you free information for years, and now they present you with this beautiful platform, and you can now trade on their platform, the tastytrade way, where you have been conditioned to trade lots and lots of transactions. That's right. That's the asymmetry of knowledge. All right. So now you got what asymmetry is, and who's got the who's got the upper hand in all of this stuff, and who is really making money. Hopefully this was informative to you, and you enjoyed these stories. They're all true. I've lived through them all. I've been the technical guru for a lot of these online brokerages, the exchanges, the institutions and stuff for many, many years. Everything that I'm telling you is from actual experience, from not just secondhand. This is firsthand, where today I have to admit that I am complicit in helping these brokerages get online and perform this dastardly deed of asymmetrical knowledge over their unsuspecting clients. And that's why I'm here now today, to fight that beast. Anyways, that's about all I have to say. Hopefully you'll gain something from this and understand that really the number one way to defeat the broker is don't play their game. Don't play these high probability strategies. Don't make lots and lots of trades every day. Play low probability, high potential return strategies. Play them less often. Don't create transactions for the sake of creating transactions. And then you will be on the other side with asymmetrical knowledge. And you'll be able to use that to defeat the beast. That's all I got to say. Peace to you all. I hope you all have a great weekend and the rest of your trading day. Take care.